Today, there are 3 levels of society. The eyes, the ears, and the noses. Which are you?
I think beach is the nose.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Wait, I don't need to be wearing these.
Are you the eyes or the ears?
Probably the ears, just because my ears are kind of sticky outy and my eyes don't work so good sometimes.
Cool, I'll be the eyes. That's the only person who doesn't need contacts or glasses.
Yeah, there you go.
Beach has a very sensitive nose, though.
I do, actually,
He
yeah.
constantly is like, can you smell that thing? And I'm like, nope.
We went home yesterday, and I was like, does your shirt smell like barbecue? And she's like, no. I says, I got smoke on my shirt for some reason. I smelled my shirt, and I'm like, yeah, I got smoke on my shirt. She's like, no, nothing's weird about mine. And so then she's like, smell my shirt. So she hands me her shirt, and I smell her shirt, and I'm like, no, it smells like barbecue. I can smell smoke in it. And what? And then she gives a whiff of it, and she's like, oh yeah, I see what you mean now. It's like barely there. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not barely there for me. It's like,
Yeah.
You're a
Trust
super
me.
smeller.
The if you have a sensitive nose, it's not a good life.
the rest of my body is shit, which is why my other senses are heightened.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does it work for everything or just barbecue?
Just barbecue so
every-
far.
Everything smells like barbecue.
We
Yeah.
haven't done extensive testing. You
That
want to
and
do some
cat shit.
extensive testing?
I can detect cat shit at like a country
I
mile.
don't either. I think many people can.
Maybe you just have some barbecue sauce on the inside of your nose.
Or cat shit.
Anyway, hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about video game news from the last week and also about the episode of CheckPoint that went up yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay.
I was gonna say last night, and then I was like, wait, it was day.
It's all right.
Last.
Time is cyclical.
It's true.
We could talk about. You want to talk about next week's checkpoint instead? We don't have to talk about yesterday's.
God, that's
We
terrifying.
could make up stuff for next week.
So we did. Speaking of other checkpoints, so we didn't have a chill point last week because there was it was the Fam Jam, but we went back and looked at the list of stories that last week, and it's like,
Yeah, we deemed it not important enough.
well, it's
Not important enough.
a lot of the stuff is things that are like no longer relevant because
Unimportant.
they've moved on.
We only talk about the hard edge cutting news
Yeah.
here that happened maybe.
All right. Yeah. The hard edge cutting news that happened maybe. That's the tagline of Chill Point right there. So, let's talk about some of that hard edge news that happened maybe.
They got all cut up.
Starting with the Midnight Society.
The bad one.
Yeah, not the Are You Afraid of the Dark one, the Dr.
Which-
Disrespect one.
I've never gone back to look at Are You Afraid of the Dark because I want that to remain good in my brain and I don't want to go find out that it's not.
I never watched it, but
Oh,
I knew of it because
that
it
was
was
one of the shows
advertised a lot.
I watched when my parents weren't looking because I wasn't supposed to watch scary TV.
This is probably... Sorry, I just turned us up a little bit. We might have been a little quiet.
Okay, I mean I could start yelling, just screaming right into the mic.
By the way, we were previously... Apparently, Wheeler and Adam were having a few frame droppy type issues. I've made a couple of adjustments on the stream, dropping the frame rate to 30 frames a second, which is usually what we broadcast at, and a few other tweaks, and restarting the computer and so forth. Things that shouldn't really have fixed it, but they might have. So let us know if you have any frame rate problems.
We might not do anything about it, but you can let us know.
Anyway.
But not in the YouTube comments. I don't. It's
That
local
won't-
recording.
that-
It shouldn't be a
Yeah,
thing.
that won't be useful. So the Midnight Society thing, this blog article, it's it says a lot, like it's really unveiling this like mythology.
So,
It reminds me a little bit of like the opening scroll of a movie set in the future, where they've clearly done like a lot of thinking about this world, but it's not necessarily represented in the movie you're about to see.
We should describe what it is for those who maybe didn't watch the CheckPoint episode.
Okay.
It's this thing. Dr. Disrespect has a video game company. You're supposed to sign up for his newsletter early to get.
You already missed
things.
your shot.
Yeah, you're not part of it.
The Midnight Society is the company that is making the game that is probably going to go by the same name. All we know about it is it's supposed to be a multiplayer shooter. We talked about that already. This new wrinkle is we've announced the method by which you'll be able to participate in the development of this game as an early adopter, as a person who showed up, who got there first.
Because that's like their big thing for the Midnight. It's like not only are we going to make this game, but you, the audience, are going to take a real
this is
role in deciding how it's going to be.
and this is part of the day zero involvement, right? As opposed to doing day one stuff.
And what they've done is they've gone into their secret clubhouse and they've constructed an elaborate series of roles and functionality that you can join and be a part of their cool little society and have be a part of a neat little name. And the more money you pay, then the cooler your name can be, and you'll be issued a token that cannot be funged. That you'll be able to prove that you have that participation within that part of their little secret society that they're making. It is shades of being 12 years old.
And there's like a avatar thing where you get like a cool mask that's, well, a mask that may or may not be cool because it's randomly generated and you're stuck with it once you have it.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's cool.
And I liked Graham's take on the fact that the cool mask that you'll be getting, you'll either, he's like, it'll be varying levels of shitty. And I was like, wait, don't you mean rarity? Like, it's like, well, no, because they're all randomly generated and there will be some that will be rarer than others. And so therefore you might just end up with a real shitty one. And it's like, wait.
Just like a big circle.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's, so, the one of the things, so the idea is that then, the people who are part of this club will be getting, input into it. It costs like $50 to join. If you're part of this thing, and then theoretically there's this sort of additional level where it's talking about the what do they call it?
You start as the Claws, so you'll be a claw of the Claws. But if you buy the $50 Founders Pass, you turn into a variant, and then you'll
the Industry Pass.
You get perks, and then after that comes the Industry Pass,
which they're not selling yet. But theoretically, the Industry Pass, and then there's sort of this idea that with the Industry Pass, you might be able to like create in-game content and sell it.
Yeah.
It's very theoretical at this point.
And when you get that Industry Pass, you would stop being a variant and turn into one of the eyes.
Yeah, so this is a very edgy sounding anime. Well, no,
it is.
The moment
You're right.
that Graham started describing all the levels, I was just like, I've read this synopsis before.
Yeah.
It involves Midnight Society, people going out at night, some sort of thing they've got to battle, but man, they're only a claw right now, and they haven't leveled up to variant yet.
It sounds like a book that Paul and Dan would have done on Fight the Future.
I mean, variants.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's not variant. It's Divergent was one. Yeah. But
I don't know if you heard that, everybody. As Graham had said, that this sounds like a Fight the Future book.
Yeah. Now, Ark of the Conclave, saying this sounds very, very pyramid scheme. As far as I know, this is not actually. Like there are lots of scams in the world that are not pyramid schemes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like. Doesn't seem to be any people recruiting other people
pyramid
aspect.
schemes generally are based on the idea that you will make a lot of money by recruiting other people into making a lot of money.
Yeah, because you need their money in order to pay yourself back for
makes
the money you
the
already
pyramid.
spent. Yeah.
So, one of the aspects of this that I did think was sort of worth talking about is that, obviously this is the token that you get to show that you're part of this group.
Yeah.
Is an NFT.
Yeah.
And of course, we've talked a lot about NFTs here, but I feel like this is actually a semi-legitimate. This is something that actually makes kind of sense to use as an NFT. We can
Debate the usefulness of
we can
NFTs,
argue.
but
Yeah, we can argue about whether this thing is like this being part of this group is worthwhile.
Yeah.
But it is something that that has. It's not just like you get this token and then you can sell this token to people and stuff. There is something sort of real attached to the token, which is membership in this group.
Yeah.
And if you're theoretically, if they sell the 10,000 and no more people can join, then people can start selling them. And to their credit, I think, they are. It's not like the Ubisoft thing where it's like you can sell it, but only in our store,
Marketplace.
in our,
Yeah.
our marketplace. And there's like all these things. It's like after, I think they said like after the first month where they're actually distributing them,
Right.
you can sell it or whatever.
Right. I guess on whatever marketplace that supports being able to sell things in that fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean,
So-
you can also we can also debate whether or not an NFT is the best functionality to have this kind of membership card idea. You know, it is a way to do it, definitely, and it is it and I would agree that this actually is a pretty good fit for that kind of technology.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Whether it will actually be, whether this idea of people like reselling the NFTs in the membership in this thing actually is borne out at all, who knows? But it is like more so than I guess more so than many other uses.
Yeah.
At least this is something, and they were the particular type of NFT, like it's not the Ethereum NFTs and stuff, so they're not theoretically the ecological stuff is not a big issue on these.
We would hope.
They talked about it in their thing, so that's good. There's still all the sort of questionable things about how the money is working and different people taking cuts of different things, but whatever the case, this doesn't. The dumb part of this, unlike a lot of these stories, the NFTs aren't necessarily the dumbest part of this.
No.
No.
The fact that the thing that is actually connected to the NFT, this whole like group whatever, is also pretty dumb. Like it's probably not going to actually result in anything
I mean,
useful.
it's not, to me, what's going on here is not that different. I mean, outside of the please pay to be our QA testers, which maybe is not actually that different from the rest of the industry anyway.
Yeah.
I could see another game also doing this thing of buy in now, get your stuff now. I mean, we do that already with pre-orders and pre-order bundles and stuff. But generally, when you have a game that tries to do this based on the idea of you don't know anything about the game,
yeah.
it's generally on a game that you've seen before. So they're working off of having that like a franchise thing, or so you have an idea of, you don't know what the next game is, but you kind of have an idea of what it will probably be because you've already it's leaning on that.
But the most notorious examples are things like Star Citizen, where it's
Right.
not that, but it's but in the
I feel
case,
like you know more about Star Citizen than this game, though.
I mean that might we
I mean,
have a lot more information, I guess. Yeah,
But I mean, Star Citizen does actually exist in a form, not
Yeah.
the form that they want it to exist, but it does. There is a thing there.
yeah,
Whereas this is sort of early access in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Except even early access, you need to have something to show. Like this is just, they haven't even shown concepts. This is just
yeah,
like you couldn't even do a Kickstarter or a Indiegogo or whatever with the stuff. But like they have nothing that they have shown so far. It's just the names of the people involved and the kind of game it's probably going to be.
yeah. What I think is actually what I will give them credit for is that I don't think anyone else has tried to promote their game in this, like promote a game in this way, where we're gonna, hey everybody, we're all 12 years old again, we're all in our clubhouse and we're all forming a secret society and we're all gonna have cool levels and cool rituals and cool other things that we get to do. And the thing is, it's like, while I think that's also kind of like, I'm also like, I remember being that age and doing that kind of stuff and doing those things with your friends and whatever. And I'm like, I got to give you props that you're trying something that's like, yeah, remember being that age, remember doing that thing, and remember doing, and it's whatever. It's like, yeah, that was always really fun, wasn't it? But I don't know. It's like, I'm like, good for you for being the only ones who decided that this would be a thing to try. I just don't know if people will take it that seriously.
I think I've seen smaller.
I find it hard
events
to take seriously.
Where people have tried to be like, I'm gonna make this game, please, like, give me money and I will make this game. But generally it's so small it doesn't make the news. Like, this makes the news because it's Dr. Disrespect.
Sure.
Right? That's literally the only name I know out of this whole story, even though there are other people.
And it's like, the interesting aspect of this, of course, is that it's, all that has to be done in order for this to, everything we've said can be like, we're just the haters or whatever, because like if if the Midnight Society, if the game comes out in reasonable time, then I guess it was a good, like it was. I am not super optimistic that will happen.
Yeah.
But
how long does it take to make a first-person shooter these days?
A couple of years.
It depends.
Few years.
Depends on whether you're talking about some of the games I'm watching play. I think we're pretty fast.
fair.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And they're also only raising, it's $50 for a Founders Pass, and they're selling 10,000 of those. That's $500,000. That's not enough to make a game.
No, but like we know that some of the people on the who are involved in this company have some money behind them.
Sure, so. and I think that's the thing, is it's like, this isn't a crowdfunding opportunity where you're funding the back of the entire game. What you're doing is you're making an investment into showing that there's interest, I guess. But
even if you do back a Kickstarter for a game, most times those people who are making games with some funding from Kickstarter also end up doing timed exclusives and stuff, and that's how they're making some other money from companies and whatnot as well to get extra backing.
But anyway, on the subject of business plans that are secret,
It's definitely a very secret business plan.
there was this very interesting interview with Reggie Fils-Aimé, who's obviously the surprisingly awesome former head of Nintendo of America. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, executive, blah blah blah. But he's one of those guys where even when he was working for Nintendo, everyone was like, he's kind of a cool guy.
yeah, he kind of keeps it real.
Like, he's kind of dorky, but he's cool.
Yeah.
And then now that he's not working for Nintendo anymore, he's even cooler.
Yeah.
He can actually say,
I have so many things I can talk about.
yeah, he can actually talk about things and troll people about Mother 3 and so forth.
Oh, he definitely trolls people about Mother 3, and he should.
So anyway, he did this talk he did an interview at South by Southwest talking about various things, but one of the things that people really locked onto was he was briefly on the board of GameStop, which we talked about actually on CheckPoint. We did
a year and a couple months.
Yeah. Which was actually, right. He sort of joined right before all the GameStop stock stuff happened, which is why this the great interview starts. The person doing the interview starts with like, so you joined GameStop and the price was like $2.50 a share. When you left, it was $200 a share.
You want to fill us in on what happened? And if it was me, I would have just like, my job was done.
Yeah. Like, I have no idea what happened. Like,
yeah.
But it sounds like it wasn't a great experience. But that people that there was a lot of which you can imagine even without the stock stuff, GameStop was in a weird place. But with the stock stuff, it's got to be like complete insanity. Like at the boardroom, they're like, "What is going on? What are we going to do? Is this a business that we're running now? What are we actually like? What is this thing we're doing? Where's the money coming from?"
And Reggie's take on what was going on at the time in the interview is that as he breaks it down, it's that GameStop was kind of seen as not being terribly solvent, which is why everyone was shorting their stocks, and they were shorting the shorts, and they were doing that kind of thing. Like, it was just, there was more stock being shorted than there was actual stock issued.
Right.
And so they knew they were in trouble. And of course, everything that happened on Reddit, the Wall Street Bets thing that, pushed it, is something that helped the stock overall. But the actual financial position of the company represented what was going on at the time was definitely like, this is teetering on a crater. We're very worried about this company. But in his opinion, he was like, there was room for GameStop with the new release of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series coming out, that was going to help bolster their position. That they were going to be,
because you need to go to a store to get a physical console. So.
Right, and then at that point, you will probably also buy games, because that's where they're going to see more of the money is in going to buy games at that point. And even though that both of those consoles are very heavily pushing their digital side, there's still the chance to get the other. And he said, what happened was, as he saw it, is that helped to bolster the financial position of the company. And at that time, Ryan Cohen formed a company called Chewy. He was the CEO of Chewy. And he joined the board with two other members of Chewy management. They joined the board together, and their aim was to try to pivot GameStop more towards an e-commerce position because of this whole digital sales thing, right?
Right.
And so he was like, this sounds like a great idea, actually. I think that we should do this. And hey, not only am I a consumer of video games, I was also working for a vendor for several years. I loved
You're talking about Reggie, right?
Yeah. And I just loved how Reggie's thing's like, I worked for a vendor for several years. And I'm like, you sure did.
You may have heard of them.
Yeah. And so he was like, he went to them and said, I have some ideas. I'd like to participate in this. I think it's a great idea. Like, let's work on this together.
He went to the guys who formed Chewy.
Yes.
Yes.
While they were on the board, he said to them, hey, let's work together and try to get GameStop to pivot to that. But Chewy's whole thing was that GameStop would use whatever technology they were developing, I think, because that's what you would do, is you would try to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And they said to him, thanks, we have enough ideas. And that's why he said he was rebuffed. He wasn't rebuffed by GameStop leadership specifically. He was rebuffed by those guys,
other members of the board,
who were trying to push their solution into what was going to happen there. Which then that's fucking red cards all over the field. Like, it's like, oh my God, we can kind of see what's going on here. At that point, he was like, you know what? If there's no room for my ideas on the board, there's no room for me on the board. I'm gonna step away. And so when the question came up, so what is actually their strategy now? And he says, quite literally, they don't want to tell anybody their strategy because they don't want the strategy to be stolen by anyone else. And I'm like, that's not... If your business model is sound, you can tell everybody on the planet your business model and you can still come out ahead.
Yeah, that's like... Yeah, saying your business model, like, we can't tell you your business... It's like, oh, yes, we have a business model. We do have a business model.
It's really good too.
When you hear it, your head just it's going to explode. But it's secret right now.
We don't want anyone to steal it.
We can't tip our hand. Yeah,
because then everybody else would use it.
And I have to buy stuff and then sell it for more than we bought it for.
And this whole thing is like, if you're on the board and if you think the position you're in is that precarious that you cannot talk about what it is that you want to do, I'm like, either you have other dealings going on for stuff that you want to do with GameStop that goes way beyond, or there's something about your own business model that people should be like, what the fuck are you doing? But it is kind of why at the end I was like, right, treating your customers with respect? GameStop NFTs, maybe fucking not, right?
And it's like, one, if that's, what's going on, like, I get the feeling Reggie is like, okay, look, I was doing this as a favor. Like, I don't need this.
No!
No. I personally think he joined because I think he wanted GameStop to do well. Like, he wanted to help them out and do things.
But he's like,
physical game store location's still really cool idea.
But like, I don't he's like, I don't need this as a thing. And then, but on top of that, I would guess, I don't know, but I would guess with all the stock shenanigans stuff going on, like if I was a member of that board and with like the ridiculous stock stuff going on, I would be like, you know what? I'm just gonna like step out of this.
Yeah.
Because like something is gonna happen at some point, and there's gonna be a lot of investigations going on, and I don't know what is going on, but I feel like I could get in trouble.
Yeah, he was on the corporate governance board, and we've never heard anything about what he was able to accomplish in corporate governance.
I doubt he got accomplished anything. to
Right,
be
so
honest.
it's like if
he was on there for so little time.
well 12. He was part of GameStop's board for 14 months, and I'm like that should be enough to kind of get the ball rolling in so many ways on so many different things. As long as you're getting
That's as long as people are listening to you. If you're there for 14 months and everybody is blocking anything you're trying to do, and you can't get people on board with anything, you can have nothing happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was very polite in, I think, how he put it, and didn't want to just straight slag everything going on. But I mean, the way he put it was like probably the nicest way you could say these guys don't know what the hell they're doing.
He's a PR person.
Yeah.
Right. Like
And-
and anybody who's done PR for long enough knows you don't just say nasty stuff, even
Yeah.
if you're not in that anymore.
You don't. I mean, why pick a fight?
And speaking of picking fights,
Yes.
let's talk about the patch notes for Domina, which were very reasonable, normal patch notes.
Sure they were.
Lots of stuff about some, particle effect modifications and changing the stuff that
How often you whip a horse?
yeah. Which, by the way, I do. That is an aspect of patch notes that often bugs me, especially for things that I like a project or a program that I'm working on.
Yeah.
Where the patch notes will sort of alternate between the patch note is the problem,
Yes.
and the patch note is the solution.
Yes.
So it'll be like, clicking this button crash the program will be like it's like fixed.
Yeah.
Picking and then the next line down, the next patch note will be like, whatever, program doesn't crash after 10 minutes now.
Yeah.
It'll be like, you fixed that the program doesn't crash after, that doesn't seem right.
Oh, okay, and cancel swap positions.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? Is that the thing you wanted to do?
So yeah, they fixed the horse being whipped too much. Or not enough.
I like the patch
Yeah.
notes that will tell you a bunch of fixes, and then at the end there's also like a couple of things that are like, yes, we're aware that this thing is still a problem and we're still working on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
It's not fixed yet, but we know.
Or known issues, or not going to be fixed.
Did they fix anything else in these patch notes?
And then also, apparently, this is not the first time.
No,
Mm-hmm.
it's not.
But yes, this developer then decided to insert a little rant about wearing masks
So
during
not
the
really
pandemic.
a patch note.
Yeah.
You should take off your masks because women want to have you pick them up in grocery stores.
Yes.
That's how I'm putting this all together. Is that, and specifically, it's women. If you are out there and you are a
'Cause
woman, or you are interested in men, I guess maybe that's the
Because
thing.
not wearing a mask shows that you're confident and unafraid.
Yeah, but if you are a woman, you should keep your mask on, I suppose, because then that shows that you are submissive to what the man in the
Unless-
grocery store wants you
Well,
to say.
no,
Unless
it
you,
just
unless
means-
you want to pick up ladies.
I'll
I
tell
guess,
you
yeah.
one thing: it'll keep them from fucking saying "smile more" all the time.
Actually, it has. I throughout the entire pandemic, I have not had a single person tell me to smile more. And I can tell you, before the pandemic, at least 3 times a week. That's not a joke.
Smile
Yeah.
more. I can tell by like the muscles on the side of your face that you're not currently smiling. But anyway, this developer apparently this is not the first time they've talked about this in their in the patch notes. But this is where it got got people noticed it. I guess got tweeted about and various things. I went to the Steam page for this game, which, to be fair, looks kind of cool.
Yeah, and actually,
It's like
I've
this
heard a
pixel
number
art
of
gladiator training game.
I've heard a number of people who actually really like this game. In fact, this is how I first saw the patch notes, was someone being like, "Oh, I think I'm gonna uninstall my game now." Wow.
But I was looking at, and like the reviews are like mostly positive. But then, of course, if you go down to the reviews thing, there's the like, and then in the last week, the reviews there's like a huge change with a big asterisk on it, which means basically that it triggered they triggered Steam's anti review bombing algorithm, which I think we mentioned like a little while ago.
That's
so
good.
Steam,
Glad it's
How often
working.
does this game
Steam has an anti-review bombing algorithm.
Good.
Where so it's like when I don't know what it uses to define it, but or what it uses to find that, but their definition is where when a whole bunch of reviews come in that are not about the actual game, they're about something to do with the developer or in the something about the world.
Yeah.
Off-topic reviews, and they can from people who are like haven't played who don't own, like they can tell whether you own the game or not, right? That kind of stuff. So anyway, so who knows what'll happen with that, but yeah, the I was pretty happy with the tweet that I posted that I got the screenshot of, where he's like, hey, who was also didn't like cancel culture? Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh God! I read that tweet for too long on the screen
Trying
when
to
I was
make
editing
sense.
it, trying to understand what was going on with that, and then I figured it out, and it was not. It's
Because-
not worth
well, it's-
figuring out.
And that the timeline of the tweets from the Domina official. This is not his personal. This is like the official account. Part of the reason why I chose that one is it's largely like.
Clean?
Well, no, it's largely like picture memes and stuff. Like there wasn't that much stuff
yeah,
that would
fair.
actually or like replying to people, because of course he's all in on like replying to people and be like, hey, you're so
What's up?
mad, hey.
Well, just an update on the review bombing thing, right? Because for several days after those patch notes, it did say that the reviews were, like recent reviews, mostly negative because of that. Since then, because of the company Twitter account memeing on it and like whipping up
Frenzy.
the base into a frenzy, now there are a bunch of positive reviews that are like, ignore politics. This game's actually awesome. Played for 0.01 of an hour, right? Like there's now the opposite effect where people who are like, wait, yeah, actually, fuck masks, have like got the game just so that they can post a positive review. It's a
We have
great
to,
system.
We have to support our brothers in Christ.
Which-
Okay.
Theoretically, I believe the anti review bombing thing actually does work on both
It's
ways.
supposed to work on positive
Yeah.
and
Alright.
negative. Now, I don't believe that politics should be separated from video games. Like a person's personal politics or whatever. But what I do take issue with the fact that they wrote this in the patch notes, because
Yeah.
it's a patch note, and it's not like they fucking added a patch note to society this way.
Yeah.
It's like it's not. Yeah, I mean, and it's not like it was something. I don't know. Maybe something was added to the game as well.
If they added a thing to the game where they were like, we took off all the masks on the people because we don't believe masks
Yeah,
should exist, sure, whatever.
So
But-
they
but it's
violated
just
the
a
sacred
note.
duty of the patch notes, is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
It's
You've-
an unnecessary piece of information about the thing that I'm currently reading about.
Exactly.
You want to be a dick, you go on Twitter. That's like where everyone
Or
goes. To
or
be a
you
dick.
could put it as like, there's the you can do like blog posts on your Steam
Yeah,
page.
you know what? Do it there. That's fine.
But yeah, you're
I'm not,
corrupting
you
your
know,
patch notes.
The patch notes are about the game and what you've done in the game, and if you're gonna yell at people in the patch notes, that's not what patch notes are for.
Yeah. Well,
You know, fucking like add a patch note that's like, hey, when you start up the game now, we yell at you for not wear your masks in public.
yeah.
And then I'll agree that should be in the patch
Go
notes.
to the grocery store and breathe on a woman. That will express your dominance, and
Oh,
she
no,
will
no, no.
fall for your musk.
Don't forget, you can't watch porn.
Can't watch porn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was against porn too.
Well, I mean,
I don't know. I didn't actually
Jesus
go
hated
reading
Unless
it.
you do it at the grocery store.
yeah. If you're like, here, why don't you try this pineapple? It's fresh and firm.
Oh, I like fresh and firm. Sorry, that was an episode of Castle I watched last night.
I just thought it was really funny that this all coincided with grocery stores and pornography and everything. And anyway,
It was an episode about pickup
speaking of
artists,
society.
so why not?
And yeah, speaking of society, I guess in Sims, are the Sims neighborhood or your neighbors are going to have more free will now than they previously had.
I mean, you say more free will, they just by means of actual free will. They get to make all of their own decisions.
They'll be doing more stuff because previously they were just sort of there.
Yeah.
And they would apparently you could influence them.
Ah.
You could say hey, you should take this job or something.
Here's a couch.
But now they're going to be
that's
just
just Animal Crossing.
now they'll just do stuff.
Right.
They'll just come over and be like, hey, we had a baby.
Yeah.
Hey, the baby lit the house on fire.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Hey, I'm old now. I'm gonna die in a few years.
I got fired from my job.
Yeah.
So this idea that there's this whole other sort of world out the other people in your town or your little community are living their lives
Yeah.
aside from your Sims who are also themselves
Wait,
living their
does that
lives.
mean if your neighbor's house catches on fire, then your house could catch on fire from their fire?
Probably, because I assume that if you catch your house on fire, it
Look,
probably
fire,
should spread to the rest of
fire
the
is
neighborhood.
incredibly scary as far as I'm concerned. Every time fire has happened in a Sims game that I've done a thing about, my Sims refuse to go call the fire department, and they just stare at it until it consumes them. And I'm just I don't know why you're doing this.
I mean, you're the one who made those Sims.
No, these are Sims that
your
I
own
didn't
image.
control. These were the maids and
Oh, I
stuff
see.
who were in the house, and everybody else out of the house.
Okay, that's weird.
Well, the maid is this is not my house. I don't care.
So Heather and I had two different takes on what this meant for The Sims, because her take was more like, oh my god, all sorts of new crazy ways for you to die that might not even be your fault anymore, but definitely now based on the wide variety of neighbors that can come into your circle, that you might, or you can watch them die in unusual ways, because if they have the same kind of free will that a Sim does, which is of course your own free will, then therefore they can do whatever. They can just go into a pool and choose not to get out. But
they don't have they have free will, not the same godlike powers as you as the controller does. But yes.
yeah, but if there's a god in the machine that's being like, aha, I've now steered this neighbor into a pool and I've removed the ladder, and you're standing there watching this, it's like my PC is literally trying to kill itself. This is a weird situation. My take on this was, as I put, the ontological nightmare of, wait, if all of these things actually have free will, much like we do, what does that mean for me running this universe in which they live? Am I not now the stewards of many people because it is my world, but they live in it?
Well, no. In most of the games I've played, in order to control other people, I had to invite them into the house.
Yeah, but
be
now
part
that
of the
doesn't
house.
happen anymore. Now the PC is just
It
running
can
them
just
on
do
the
whatever.
side.
The
I had that nanny who wouldn't leave.
so the
After I fired her too, she just kept sticking around. I hired another nanny to see if she would understand, but that nanny also wouldn't leave after I fired her.
wow.
It's a really weird time.
That's when you just have to call the police and get them to leave. That's just
I'm just saying there was a fire after that.
Maybe it's gonna be maybe this is a life hack that if you ever get a job and you don't wanna go home, you don't wanna leave, just stay there.
No,
And if they decide not to get rid of you, you can just live there for free.
I hired a maid once, and then I decided she should live in the house. And I thought maybe if I got her to move in, she would just continue to be a maid, and I would get free maid services. And instead, all that did was meant I had to make sure she found a job, because apparently she just didn't have one after she moved in.
Right. Okay.
wow. So it'd be like,
This
hey,
was
now,
Sims 3 though.
hey roommate, you're a professional maid, so that means you can just clean our house, right? That's how that works.
Only test things, science.
You know,
The
that's why the cobbler's kid has no shoes.
Yeah, so I've been actually watching Upload on Amazon Prime,
yeah.
which is a really good show, by the way. But the like digital, what is real people having free will and that kind of stuff does come up in that as well,
All right.
which is an interesting aspect. But what's interesting, a couple people in the comments mentioned that apparently Sims 2, your neighbors had a lot more of their own personal lives.
Like their autonomy of.
Yeah. And then in Sims 3, that was taken away.
Ah.
And so in a lot of ways, this is actually giving it back what was taken in Sims 2.
So there's still hope for Animal Crossing to go back to the way it was in New Leaf, where your animals can just decide to leave someday.
I just want them to put a toggle
Yeah.
so that I can play the way that I want to play, and if other people don't want to play that way, that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't care what
I
you
just
do.
want to be able to toggle on and off whether animals leave my village. So I can be like, I want Audie to stay, I want Raymond to stay, I want Flo to stay, and everybody else can just leave if they want to. And yeah,
And also, somebody caught that the picture of the room on fire was in fact from Sims 3, not from Sims 4.
Where they're
I'll
all
be-
standing around staring at it. Yeah, see,
I'll
I
be
told you
honest-
this is the problem with
Yeah.
fire in Sims 3.
I didn't really check too much because I was like, one house on fire in The Sims looked basically like any other house on fire in
Yeah,
The
that's
Sims.
fair.
But in full disclosure, it probably was from Sims 3.
So I hope some people did really enjoy finding out that we had a Discord and they could go in there to scream into the void if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's
The,
discord.gg/LRR.
Yeah, screaming about The Sims was actually the largest portion of the comments. So.
Well, that and Horps's.
Sometimes-
There was a lot more Horps's comments.
Just
That
need
made me very happy.
Give people direction. So it was, if you were not freaked out by the fact that, hey, what does it mean if I can just turn off somebody's universe, then what does it mean about the universe in which I live? How do I know that I haven't been paused for days at a time while God is watching Netflix?
I feel like that's something that you have to come to grips with to play Sims at all.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I don't think this is really like that far, like too much of a stretch if you're already like on board with the whatever ethical
are-
framework.
Yeah, what is the Matrix?
Those are 3 a.m. Heather thoughts, and that's why Heather doesn't stay up till 3 a.m.
I'm in cup.
Tom Clancy's X-Defiant, which is I assume that's how it's pronounced,
Sure. Yeah.
is now
Maybe
just
the X
called
is silent.
X-Defiant.
Christ-defiant.
Because people were like,
Defiant.
why is Tom Clancy's name associated with this fast-paced firefight meet punk rock mosh pit
Oh, did he not write a book
first-person
about
shooter? No, weirdly he did not.
Oh. Is Tom Clancy alive?
No, 2013 he died.
Okay.
They've been milking that Tom Clancy's thing for a real long time, which is kind of what this story is about, or what this little blurb is about. Is that the reasoning they've said is that there's going to be characters from like other Ubisoft franchises. Whether that, I don't know if like Ezio is going to show up with a gun,
Great. Yeah.
or what. But anyway, they're gonna. So they didn't want to have it just be like Tom Clancy's X-Defiant. But yeah, I to be honest, I hadn't really heard much about this game at all. But the announcement trailer for it, which came out quite a few months ago, is hilarious because they're like talking about, it's like, well, we really wanted to make sure, it's all about like making the gunplay feel really good and feel really realistic. And then also you have like all these, like, they wanted to have sort of Overwatch style like special abilities though as well. Okay. And so it's like really, all these different guns with like cool, really realistic gunplay, and also like force fields and shooting stuff. And it's like, I don't think these I don't think these things work together. I don't know what this is going to be.
Somebody's got to mash up a whole bunch of stuff and see whether the game works.
Well, as long as they don't use the word metaverse again.
But that's CheckPoint.
That was, So let's talk about some of the things we did not mention episode. I marked because there was the ID at Xbox.
Oh, I didn't even know Xbox had events. I guess that makes sense though.
Funny, right? Because because
I
Nintendo
don't see
Direct
people
and,
talk
like,
about them. I see people bring up State of Play, even though
Yeah.
State of Play is not generally that interesting for me.
Is this
Someone at Xbox is just shedding a single
I just
tear.
don't see anybody ever talk about Xbox in any of my feeds.
so? This is it says ID at Xbox, like it has the @ symbol one up. But is this actually id at Xbox? Is this actually what the id studios are doing, or is this just like what we've decided to call this?
I think it's
Just what is going on at Xbox?
It's like the Nindies, so it's like an indie thing.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Indie devs.
Yeah.
Indie devs at Xbox.
Cool.
Maybe that's what the ID stands for.
I'm on board with that.
So one of the things that they did announce at it that is something that you should know about is Tunic, which just came out. Came out surprise day one, available on
Right,
Xbox Game Pass,
Yeah,
which is super cool.
that was a surprise. It's true.
So I have begun playing it. It is very fun. You should check it out.
Best Fox friend.
So it's a part of Game Pass on Xbox, which means that anywhere that Xbox Game Pass works,
Yeah.
it works.
It's also available
yeah, so
on
I have it on PC, but it's on Steam and every
yeah.
other.
Steam,
it's in
Epic.
Yeah, it's on.
GOG, Humble, I think, even has it on their store. Itch.io. I looked this all up because I have a command for this and I was streaming it.
Right.
PC and Mac,
Okay.
and Xbox currently.
So anyway, there wasn't anything. I sometimes mark these kind of stories because I'm like, maybe Beej or Graham will be interested in talking about some of the stuff on this.
I mean, Paradise
sometimes
Killer
not.
is
Wow,
a
Rolling
thing I've heard
Thunder.
some stuff about.
They made a new Rolling Thunder game.
I don't know really any of those other names.
Sorry.
Whalefall is a great name
It's a
for
good
a game.
name. I don't
There's-
know what it is, but it's a good
I just
name.
saw this name and I was like, apparently there's a combination SRPG, JRPG set in a high fantasy world inspired by Lord of the Rings called Whalefall.
I thought it said Whale Tail to begin with, but no, it's Whalefall.
Is
Yeah.
that the whale game everyone I've seen keeps asking about?
I thought the whale
So
game
yeah,
was
there was a forum.
Oh no,
Post-
we've got Whalefall! Get
there's
inside!
There's a forum I look in, and somebody asked what was the game with that had the giant whale in it, and nobody knew what they were talking about, so they just all started talking about all the giant whales that show up in every video game, because there's actually a fair few.
Oh my god, set on the continent of Osfeld, which is divided among territorial lines and shadowed by enormous sky whales. Economic and political powers on Osfeld shift every 100 years or so when a sky whale falls to the ground below. And you fight over their remains.
The economic,
sounds
technological,
fucking
and
awesome.
military boons from the whales' bodies are considerable.
This rules.
So conflict. It's just like Dishonored, but the whales are in the sky. That's
Yeah,
actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty into this.
I like this idea. What a great, yeah, what a cool idea.
Anyway. All right. This isn't. There's. Let me.
Show this off.
Let me show you this off because this is pretty dope. There's a Gundam Switch case,
Yup.
and it's like, not only is it like a cool Gundam styled Switch case, but then it's got like modular attachments that have like Gundam style like branding and stuff on them for like a battery pack and
It has its
different-
own Bluetooth 5.0 transmitter, which allows you to pair 2 sets of wireless headphones.
it's got a whole different sets of grips on it for different
So
situations.
is this something somebody's made, or is this like a thing you buy?
This is a thing you can buy.
Lenbo.
The Plenbo G case.
This cannot be like, it is clearly not Bandai Namco licensed Gundam whatever. It is definitely Gundam lookalike. But man, do they really kind of nail it.
Yeah, there's some pretty good work there.
It's got like it's also got like a better like kickstand and stuff. It's got external battery power
Neat.
that you can like, because the battery pack is like the O1 thing, so you can like
Oh,
swap
right,
the battery
yeah.
packs
Yeah.
out.
I do not want this at all, but I
No,
do
but
think
it's
it looks
neat.
super cool.
Yeah. So anyway, it's fairly expensive, 179, whatever, but
I mean, batteries and stuff, and probably a lot of custom pieces.
it's super swank.
Those atomic purple controllers.
Those are that's an aftermarket.
Third-party mods,
thing.
yeah.
Oh, I've looked.
Elden Ring continues to become less and less of a good your money's worth.
Yeah.
You know, last week or the week before, people got it down to 1 hour to beat Elden Ring. It's down to half an hour. I mean, come on, guys. You're charging full price for this game.
I know, right?
That you can beat in half an hour.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's why these days it's why Super Mario Brothers is just
Okay.
free to play on Nintendo Switch Online
If this
because it's only takes 5 minutes to beat now.
If this game is so quick, then tell me why I have at least put up 10 VODs of Play It Forward for this
I
game.
think it's
They're-
the get good
Yeah,
scenario.
they're just dicking around. I don't know.
No.
They could finish
Doing
it.
all the side quests.
They
ignoring-
could finish it
ignoring
whenever
the
they
games.
wanted to, but they just
Oh,
don't
sure.
want to.
It's fun to watch how fast records fall in the early part of games, right? Where it's just like tick, 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 tick. They just kind of
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
oh, we go from it's 6 hours, and then to like 2 hours, and to 1 hour, and then to 30 minutes, and it'll be like in maybe another week, it could be like down to like 25 minutes or
it's
10
the-
minutes or
Yeah, it's sort of a reverse like hockey stick thing
Yeah.
because it's as you get as it gets lower and lower the
approaches zero,
the
yeah.
the gains get less and less
Yeah.
obviously, but a couple bits of Kirby news
Kirby.
because it is Kirby's 30th birthday.
yeah.
And yet he still looks young and pink.
It's true. The Dreamland beauty standards are, I don't know. I don't know whether he says he had some sort of rejuvenating treatments, restuffing his whatever he's made out
It's
of.
all the lycopene in those Max tomatoes. Yeah.
But anyway, there's a couple things that's going on. There's going to be a official concert to celebrate his 30th birthday.
Damn.
30th anniversary. It's going to be on the 11th of August, and it's going to be streamed to the YouTube channel for free.
The official Kirby YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was an official YouTube Kirby channel.
Well, there is now, and there's going to be a concert. Which so, if you enjoy the music of the Kirby games,
And you missed the 25th anniversary concert because apparently they did one then too.
This event is a musical. This event is a musical event in which you can enjoy the original melodies of songs from past titles in the series while reminiscing your memories with them. A large LED monitor at the venue will also feature a moving Kirby. Okay.
Great.
Well, this better not be like that Sonic concert we saw. We
Oh, the like weird like
were dancing.
AR Sonic. Yeah. So that's super neat.
Yeah.
And then the My Nintendo Store will also be releasing a collection of medals
The Japanese My Nintendo Store. Let's
to
be
celebrate
clear.
all
They're-
things
they're
Kirby.
different.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you'll be able to find them on eBay, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then the other Kirby thing
There are many Kirby things.
is there's a
Is the game
oh,
trial
yes.
still out?
The demo, yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
okay.
it's not timed.
Great.
there's a new set of so they've restocked the Kirby amiibos, but there's a new set of figurines. I love these actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Show them off.
So there's two versions of the figurine that look identical, but the pre-order or the exclusive edition, he spins and it plays the sound. So but this one he's just there. Like,
Yeah.
so clearly this is they made this one and they just like took out the batteries
They were just like,
for this one.
we made a whole bunch that don't work. Standard edition.
Yeah. But the like spin
Yes.
like like he does like the like dance back and forth, and like the two other Kirby's appear and they all dance.
Yeah. That's fun. So there's that. They're doing re-releases of all the amiibo that have already come out, and it's like, hey, it's the 30th anniversary, so there is so much merch. Do you like playing cards? Well, there's Kirby themed playing cards for £15 sterling. Have you ever spent $30 US on a pack of playing cards? You haven't. Now you can.
Nintendo is like, hey, maybe we should start making playing cards.
Those are really cute. $30 is expensive.
It is. I don't like the fact that what we're seeing here is that we have illustrated shaded Kirby.
Yeah,
as
DD
an
doesn't
ace.
look right.
And then the Meta Knight and Waddle Dee are flats, but then DDD, maybe the diamonds are all 3D, and like maybe every suit is a different look. But I'm like the jacks, like the hearts and the clubs are
I don't like that style.
kind of
Yeah,
the same. Yeah.
I wonder if they're gonna do anything for the number cards, like have little Kirby's on the numbers or anything like that. I mean, they're not showing them, so they're probably just fairly plain.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you like
Those are really cute, though.
pink spherical things.
And I think the last time we did a ChillPoint, we might have talked about all of the stuffies, all the plushies.
Yeah.
And there's
Oh, those
just
are
like
super
all the
cute.
plushies are being advertised again on all the places. And I think there's some new ones, but a lot of old ones. So.
For some reason, in terms of the plushies, I love that the tree is a plushie.
Yeah, Wispy Woods tree. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just a plush tree. Like it's not. It's got like a face on it.
Yeah.
And it's like. Anyway.
He doesn't move or do anything. He just kind of.
If you watch The Last Can't Draw Horses Club, Corey and I drew Kirby in a variety of ways.
Yeah. I liked your mermaid.
Yeah, my mermaid Kirby's good.
This is cool. This is the 2021 Video Game Accessibility Awards just happened.
This is super cool. Able Gamers put this together.
Yeah, so they gave awards to games in a bunch of different categories in terms of like, I guess this is I'm gathering from the way the awards are thing. It's not like the game that had the best blank. It's the game, the best game that had this. Like if you release the game, like for instance, there's
game of this year that has this.
yeah. There's like the Clear Text Award, which awards to games featuring accessible options for reading text on screen. And the winner was Halo Infinite but it's not like it's like if you just made some random game with really big clear text in it, you wouldn't win the Clear Text Award from these. Like this is the best game that had that thing.
So the video game awards themselves, the way my understanding is the way they do their voting for like game of the year and whatever is you have a little bit of like fan voting on a website, but they count for a very small percentage. Everybody else who does nominations and voting is from another outlet like IGN or I don't know if Nintendo Life does that, but other things. And then when you start getting into that where you're picking people to pick nominations and stuff, what you end up with is a certain number of games that are generally known as AAA or very highly placed because those are the games that everybody played. And so if this is very similar to that, it could just be it could be more. It's not like an indie title or a small game couldn't have gotten these. It's just these are games more people are
They're just not on the radar.
notable with.
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of the awards that are kind of interesting. I thought the Input Reduction Award is an award for games that allow players to reduce the amount of input needed to successfully complete actions. Winner, Before Your Eyes, which is the game that you just play by blinking, which has got to be definitely up there in terms of lack of input. There's AI Assistance Award, which for games that allow players to progress forward using assistance from AI characters or in-game systems. Forza Horizon 5 got that. I take issue with there's the Peer Assistance Award, which is an award that allows games that allow players to progress forward with the help of another player, which they gave to It Takes Two. I would argue that
Well, you kind of couldn't actually advance without the other.
yeah,
player in that
it's
game.
actually like if one player can't play very well and one player can, like the person who can't play very well kind of drags both. Like it's sort of the opposite of assistance. It actually that
Yeah.
person sort of drags them both down.
What I did like about that game was because of how those levels were designed, you couldn't just have one person who's so good at the game just run off and go all the way ahead
Right.
to the end. But yeah, I suppose.
But to me, like peer assistance would be something like, the thing of like, whatever playing, the thing where you can like play as Cappy in Mario Odyssey,
Oh yeah.
or the thing where you can like playing as Tails and Sonic and Tail, back in the day, stuff like that, where like a person can help you in the game, but they aren't necessary to complete the game. So
I mean,
I
to
don't
me,
know.
that just says that maybe there wasn't anything recent this year that really had.
Or- Yeah, I mean, Elden Ring has the co-op aspect too. Like, or I mean,
I
a lot. It feels
And
weird.
this is from
to give-
2021, so yeah.
It feels weird to give a Souls game like an accessibility, but they have all sorts of stuff in them, and the idea of you can summon people to help you out with a fight, right? Anyway,
Remapping buttons.
Bypass Award, which is a game that allows players to bypass challenges or sections of a game to progress
Training
forward.
Grounds Awards, interesting.
So anyway, neat idea. Obviously, it's great to highlight games that are doing what they can in terms of accessibility options. Especially, I mean, this is kind of an interesting situation because while normally the idea that like you want to sort of highlight indie titles or whatever, in a lot of ways, this kind of an award thing, saying Halo Infinite is actually better to be. It's like Halo Infinite not only is this incredibly huge game, but also, Microsoft is showing, showing that making the text very, have lots of legibility options so that people can easily read the text, saying that is part of that, like that should be part of your game.
Yeah.
That's it's not like you have to have that as like a special thing. That's just because you're a big game developer.
When it comes to accessibility options within video games, the best way to have those in games is to have thought about that at the base planning level of a game, and not to have that come up as like the last thing you try to push into a game, because you still have to have your codings and stuff happen, and people do make those things, and the larger game companies, especially since the larger game companies put so much money into their games in the first place, they should be striving to do accessibility options in as many of their games as they possibly can to really push that as like an industry standard.
And then also, I mean, of course, somebody like Microsoft or Sony or whatever can actually, and they have, not to a huge not to this extent, but they can just actually mandate things. Like there are mandated things in for like Xbox games and stuff where it's like the text can't be below a certain size and stuff like that. Like they actually do have, in order to get certified for the console.
I
which is always
would
kinda nice.
love text sizing to be a thing, specifically on the Switch, because some games I can tell on the TV we have at home that I'm like, oh, on handheld mode that is going to be impossible to read because I can barely read it on this TV.
Yeah,
What the heck?
Subnautica is on in full screen TV. I have a 65-inch TV at home, and the text is like comfortable to read on a 65-inch TV at about 10 feet away. And I'm like, that would never work in the handheld mode.
I remember like back in the day for like original Xbox or Xbox like 360 had a lot of problems with assuming people had at least like a 720 television. Like,
Right.
so if you could, because it came with composite plugs, right? And if you plugged it into just a regular TV, a lot of games would have completely illegible text. And so Microsoft had to put requirements, be like, no, look, your text has to actually be readable, in the same way as you have to like do the TV safe guidelines and stuff.
Yeah.
What else we got going on here? Hey, Wordle.
What?
Yeah.
Something we haven't talked about in like a week.
But we weren't here last week.
That's true.
That doesn't count.
Wordle Archive, which was a website where you could play old Wordle
Oh, so
words.
specifically the Wordle game. This is not
Oh,
variants
okay.
of Wordle. This is just old versions of the
Like
Wordle
if you had missed the days and whatnot.
Yeah,
Okay,
so this was a
sure,
website
sure.
where somebody made where you could play older versions of Wordle.
Yeah,
I see.
okay. I can understand
And they were given a talking to by the New York Times. Now that New York Times owns Wordle, they've been kind of going around, and the general consensus among law type people and people sort of, I guess, both law type people and random armchair law people, is that the functionality of Wordle is not something that can be copyrighted because
Sure.
it's a very, very old game.
Right.
But the specific, the name Wordle, obviously, and the specific presentation of Wordle, it's a fairly distinctive look.
Right.
Okay.
That is something that can be sort of copyrighted or trademarked or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and New York Times has been relatively forceful in locking in the so
Oh, of
people
course they
can't
have.
use people.
They're a bigger company
they
with people
they
whose
spent-
jobs are dedicated to
Spend
that.
a lot of money on it. They're gonna do stuff for
Spent, was it low
low seven figures.
seven figures?
That's in the early millions.
So Wordle Archive, because I mean the problem is, of course, like the problem with getting mad at people copying Wordle is that it's like not only is Wordle the concept behind Wordle a very simple game, but even like the Wordle site itself was so simple, like it was client side only, so you could just like download the website and save it to your computer, and you would just have it. Like, and so like Wordle Archive, I don't know how it was made, but I can imagine, like I can like, knowing what I know about how Wordle was made, basically all you would have to do is do like a drop down and choose a different word, like, and the Wordle and the archive of what words that Wordle was using was included on the page.
Yeah.
So like it would take like half an hour to make that, just based on the original one, right? So it's like you can't the effort to sort of copy Wordle, they can't really whack-a-mole everything because it's such a sort of simple thing, and it was sort of distributed in such an easy way. But people actually using the word Wordle, they can get mad at.
Right. But Wordle Archive now, it uses the word Wordle. It basically would use everything, and therefore.
And to be honest, like it does kind of sound like part of the thing with copyright and trademark is like they want to make sure that you don't confuse
Yeah.
consumers. And to be honest, Wordle Archive does sound like a thing that could be like an official thing from New York Times. So
Yeah. So New York Times has asked them to take that down.
And they did.
yeah, and yeah, I don't think they're I feel like this is one of those things like, okay, yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
There's no
sure.
dispute on this.
No.
They probably just sent them a thing that was like, hey, you got to take that down, and they went, yes.
The Ars Technica article gets into the thing about, what about the clones?
Right.
What does it mean for clones? And it's like, well, that's a good question. Like, I would assume that any clone that hews way too close to the look and feel, you would have that whole cease and desist thing. But if it's inspired by the mechanics of Wordle, but it is a different style of game, you're probably not going to see many clones run aground. They'll just be like, well, it is a slightly different game, so we can't just be meh about it.
But again, because it's all client side, archive.org, like when it gets archived by the Internet Archive, it gets everything.
Yeah.
So you can actually go to like the Internet Archive page of Wordle Archive and play it.
Think from there, yeah.
Just kind of cool. Anyway, boop, 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 boop. Other old games. In the Dark is a new game being released for the Game Boy, not the 3DS store, which is going to be closing.
No.
It is getting a physical Game Boy, not special Game Boy,
Yeah.
big ass cartridge Game Boy
Yep.
DMG 001 Game Boy.
release.
Yeah.
Apparently, it is going to be able to be played on Super Game Boy, though. If you've got
That's
one,
cool,
you can
yeah.
play the cartridge into that.
I got one of those, yeah.
It is the game where you click on lights and turn them on and off and
Magic Square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I have that on Merlin.
so apparently it has a story mode with 100 progressively harder curated puzzles,
Jesus Christ.
which don't know how you could make 100 puzzles. It's got to have more than 9 squares at some point, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you could make 100 puzzles of this, but I guess they did.
I'm going to point out at the bottom of the story, it does say that if you purchase this, you get a free ROM,
Yes.
which will become available 2 weeks after sales go live. So
If you want to be boring about it and
it's,
not play it on your original Game Boy.
Yeah.
lots of games still come out for the Game Boy.
Or if you want to put it on your
They're
analog pocket.
they're typically like this.
Um,
Yeah, actually, if you have a pocket.
oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So it's called In the Dark, and it's coming out from Bitmap Soft.
Puzzle game where your goal is to turn off all the lights.
I like that the cartridge
I can do that at home.
It's a black shell cartridge, and it also comes in a dust case as well, which is like how when you got the cartridges made, they came in that little plastic dust case, which I gave Heather one of those the other day when we were playing with all of my Game Boy carts, and I said, here, I handed her the thing for her to open it and get into it, and it's a struggle. Like, if you've never had to play with original Game Boy games, it's like, how the hell do you open this thing? I knew how, right? I knew you do this, click, boom, you're done, right?
I never kept my Game Boy games in the little plastic covers.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any. I kept them in a Velveeta cheese box.
Sure, because they fit perfectly, I bet.
They were the square box they used to sell. I had one of those. My grandma gave it to me. I put all my games in it.
Yeah.
And I had that box until I was 16 before I moved on to having some other kind of better box.
Yeah.
All my Game Boy Advance games were there too.
All your Game Boy games just smell vaguely of cheese.
The cheese is wrapped.
But I love the little game case
You used to
things
get
that they came in.
to get this cheese in exactly this block because when you put it in your cheese slicing block thing that my grandmother had.
Ooh. Ghostwire is a game that is
Oh right, yes.
Yeah, you remember.
Ghostwire Tokyo,
Ghostwire,
yeah.
yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo launches in just over a week from when this was posted, so less than that time now. And as with we're seeing a lot of this that it's going to have for PS5, it's going to have multiple graphical modes. But what's a little unusual is it's going to have 6 different graphical modes.
Oh, because the PS5 has generally 2.
Yeah, usually there's a
higher frame
good
rate or
and-
ray tracing or something.
So it's going to have quality mode, which is a high fidelity rendering mode with ray tracing enabled and a 30 FPS limit. It is going to have performance mode, which is a high frame rate mode designed for the smoothest gameplay. So high fidelity versus high frame rate.
Right. Looks
Okay.
good, plays good.
Yeah. Additionally, there are going to be 4 HFR modes, which stands for high frame rate, which are uncapped frame rate modes. And the 4 options are high frame rate quality, which is a quality mode with uncapped frame rate between 30 and 50.
So it will
not
use as
really
much
a-
performance as it can to try to make it, but it'll always try to look as good as it can.
Yes.
Okay.
And there's high frame rate performance, which is a performance mode with uncapped frame rate over 60.
So we could think of that as being like the performance mode, but they're like, rather than lock it to 60, we'll just let it go as high as as high as the
Yeah.
it can spool. Okay.
And then there's VSync versions of both of those, which
The highest.
I don't know
frame
why
rate you
those
can
are
get,
different
but with
modes, but-
VSync.
so there's high frame rate quality VSync, high frame rate performance VSync.
I feel I have a thing in my stomach about this.
I mean, it's weird, of course, as somebody who primarily plays on PC.
Right.
It's just like only 6 modes. What are you?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
But
'Cause-
usually on consoles there's no modes. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like
I kinda-
we make it look as good as it can look.
I kind of
on
look
this
at this
console.
and I'm like, okay, so everybody's gonna pick one mode that they think is the best mode, and that's the mode everyone's gonna hook onto.
Yeah, the devs kind of target a thing and they're like, that's where we want it to land.
right.
No, I mean the play base, because like when PS5 came out, because there's like the you can have your games play like 60 frames per second, or you can have like ray tracing on,
Right.
so that it really only does like 30 or something.
Right.
But they look or
Yeah, no,
different,
they just-
and
yeah.
after that, everyone kept talking about, okay, did you try this mode? And did you try this mode? And everyone's there. There's kind of like a weird agreement where people are like, I just play on this mode. I
it's-
stopped trying it on different modes.
Is there like a schism? Is there a
don't think-
mode schism?
Oh,
So-
I mean, oh yeah, of
but I
course.
think-
I mean,
think
the
that-
big
People need something to fight about.
well, no, but the big schism is so long time console players.
Yes.
Are like, this looks great, and I'm totally happy playing this at 30 frames a second.
Right. Okay. That sounds like me.
Because for the longest time, that was a standard thing. PC players are like, if this is less than 60 frames a second, I have to tear my eyeballs out. I cannot handle it.
Yeah.
And so when PC players go over to consoles, they get mad at 30 frames a second.
I see.
And so they are, they need to have, they want to have the higher frame rate abilities, which are only now really becoming like a stand. Because it used to be that, of course, TVs didn't display higher than 30 frames a second,
Right.
so nobody
Yeah.
cared.
Right.
And trust me, I've seen the people who come over who are like, it says you're supposed to get 60, but I can tell it's 59.
Yes.
Yeah, the people who are very attuned to the frame rates. Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing. If you're used to 30, I really recommend not going up to 60 unless you can maintain 60 on everything you own, because it will probably ruin it
It
for
will
you.
spoil you.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, the worst thing is, there's like the epitome is like if you're PC gamers who have gone even farther, like you get one of the like a monitor that can display like 140 frames a second or 120 frames a second,
yeah.
whatever. You get and you get the kind of graphics card that can handle that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then it is that thing where it's like once you've experienced it and now your reflexes are like tuned for that, you're like I'm. It feels like I'm moving through molasses to play it
Yeah.
any other way.
But I haven't really seen people fight about the PS5 version of a thing. It's just you try. It's like when the 3DS came out and you can turn the 3D slider on and off, right?
Yeah.
You played with it a little bit at the beginning, and then you just picked one. You either had it on all the time or you had it off all the time.
Right.
And most people just turn that off. So it's like that's kind of just what's happened with the PS5. It's like a few people are like, yeah, I tried out the different modes because I was told there were different modes, and now I've picked one and I'm just staying there forever.
And so this is Ghostwire Tokyo going even further to say we're actually fine
Yeah,
tuning
we're
that.
gonna have
Yeah,
6.
and we're gonna the uncapped modes are interesting too because that means that you could be that means that your frame rate could be actually varying quite wildly. But this is also part of this is also the whole like because there's the different the Series S and Series X and the different sort of levels. Then it'll be like you can play this thing
Right.
and it'll go 60 frames a second on your Series X, but maybe it only go 30 frames a second on your Series S or whatever. You know, they try to make so the consoles are one target, so we can just do that thing has started to become a little blurry.
Right. Okay.
In at least in the Xbox, PlayStation era. As always, Nintendo was just like derp a derp a derp.
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll just
1080p,
keep
30 frames a second.
30 frames a second. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I don't care about uncapped frame rate. I care about stable frame rate. So as long
There you
as
go.
it maintains the stability of what it's supposed to be at, I'm generally pretty good.
Speaking of which, XSplit has reported no dropped frames, so
Working is intended.
Remarkable.
yeah, we're on high performance mode, I guess.
So should we pivot then?
Speaking of high performance mode,
Yeah, so BS, you put this. Did you put this in the doc?
I think I added this to the CheckPoint thing because I was like, oh shit, here we go. Stadia has now pivoted to a Google Cloud product. It is no longer just the thing. There's a lot of talk about this earlier where it's like, what is Google going to do with Stadia? When part of the idea was like they will probably become a white label service. This sounds like it's like we are not doing the game thing anymore. We are going to provide a method by which other people will do this. And I didn't read the full article is the problem. I just saw this come up like, oh, here's the thing. We're gonna have to go over this. So yeah.
I mean, you know, we all know that Google has a bad habit of
Losing interest.
losing interest in things or like changing things around, combining things, moving things. So this, I can't see this as a positive
No.
thing for Stadia. Like, to me, this kind of seems like the first step in. It's like we'll integrate it into this existing thing,
Yeah.
but we never are really going to integrate it properly, and it'll kind of go.
Well, and what's weird too, right? Is it's like it's one of those instances where Alphabet could be looking at Stadia as being like, this could potentially be a spin-off product. We could make a spin-off company or something of this thing, and it could be a white labeled cloud computing gaming service type thing that people could get involved with, and it could be like a, you know, not NVIDIA GeForce or not Xbox Game Pass or whatever. That's not going to happen because it's a Google product, isn't it? And it has to belong to Google.
You can imagine it's something like what's it called? What's the starts with the P, the video, the gameplay sharing service that we've used a couple times.
Oh, I've forgotten the name of it.
Not
It's another Steam.
Proton. No, Proton.
No.
Parsec.
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 Yes.
I was like par something. Anyway, yes, I could see them doing a sort of a Parsec kind of thing with it.
Yeah.
Where although instead of sharing like somebody else's thing, you're sharing Google's thing. So it's like I want, you know, whatever. And I think in like Microsoft cloud services has some stuff that's kind of like that too, where you can just basically get access to like a computer running Microsoft Office
Right.
in the cloud.
It just
No matter
work on
where you
that.
are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that as being a thing. Obviously, it's a lot less sort of sexy than video game stuff.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it doesn't matter as much in terms of, say, frame rates and latencies and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, video games are sort of the top tier in terms of the quality of the resources that are required to get it. You know, I guess like video games and like maybe like video editing or that kind of stuff
Yeah.
is sort of the
Where you're pushing your hardware.
where you're
most.
really pushing the response time and stuff.
Yeah. So this is now a thing. It is now Stadia is now actually just a Google Cloud product, and I don't know, like the outlook for that. It's like it's pivoted to a different
We've been
branding
waiting
service.
for it to die since it got announced.
Yeah.
Outlook.
Because it's like
Outlook not
the
so good.
idea of being able to play a game anywhere on basically any kind of device, because none of those devices has to do the work of playing the game,
Yeah.
is a good idea. It's just the internet level of what you need for that is an issue, and unless you can get the games on there as well,
Yeah.
right?
It's because we had even talked about here about like how interesting would it be to be a streamer where if we need to be playing the latest games rather than upgrading our gaming PC, if we're just like, you know what, we're just doing this through GeForce Now, we're just doing it through whatever. But we've seen what happens when our internet connection is affected by
There's
stuff.
also that.
I mean, Stadia had some interesting stuff where they're talking about where like you could go, because of course it's Google, so you could be like streaming on YouTube, and then while you're streaming, viewers could see that you're streaming and go like boom and drop into your game.
Right.
If they also had Stadia, like there's all sorts of interesting stuff
Yeah.
they threw around. Now a lot of it never actually happened. I feel like we're gonna keep seeing these. Like I feel like we will.
It'll get there.
Cloud services will
eventually.
happen.
Yeah, gaming cloud service will
just-
happen.
And whoever these companies are all betting that they're going to be the one to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And somebody will get it eventually. The technology and the internet speeds will.
But that's the thing.
we'll get there.
I think less about
And so-
them having the capabilities of being able
Yeah.
to do it, and more the world needs the consumers to be able to access it.
Yeah, but I do feel like in another 5 years, for like us, we might actually be in a position where it is, why, if you don't have to own every console as it comes out, because you'll be able to use an older console to play the newer games, or you'll be able to like use your streaming PC to access some of these things.
I mean, what if the streaming PC was just at Twitch?
Yes, and that's that's where I was going with that. Is like, what happens if Twitch says, we're introducing gaming cloud services. So, hey, do you want to play Elden Ring? Well, we have a gaming PC that can run Elden Ring, and you can just access that, and we can just take that video and stream that video
And
to you and to all of your
And
people.
we just like send the webcam over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
do it
think
that
they're
way.
working on that.
There's all sorts of
it's called Luna. It's Amazon's streaming thing.
And they absolutely will.
There's all sorts of interesting things that you could do. Yeah.
Yeah, because now at that point, it's like you start doing all that. You take a lot of the onus off the people who are doing streaming to have to own a huge setup and capture devices and all these other kind of things. It's like I can have a laptop and I can be just doing this, and I don't have to think about capturing any gaming and stuff. It does mean that it'll depend upon you being online. I'm like, yeah, but if I'm streaming my gameplay, I have to be online.
But
so.
then you need to have better internet on top of that already. Like that's
Yeah.
part of the reason why I don't like streaming online games, is because then it's like there's a point where
Yeah.
your internet caps.
Yeah, and we don't, and in our house, for example, we can't get better internet than what we already have. But here at the moon base, where we have gigabit
Sure.
fiber, it's like I
But it-
see that being a thing where it's like a lot of people might start gravitating towards this, who are entertainers, because they're like they can get the reliable
But again,
connection.
you're suggesting a thing where it's like, oh, you don't have to have all this expensive setup,
Yeah,
except you still do.
yeah, and as I know from what goes on in the United States anyway, is that a lot of people in the U.S. do not have a lot of options. They have one option to pick depending on where they live. They don't get to decide between even two.
And I
we
mean,
get to pick two.
Yeah, in Canada, it's not
Yeah, we're not much
great
better.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
It turned. Yeah. I mean, Canada or North America in particular, in general, and Canada in particular, it's just too darn big.
Mm-hmm.
When that's why they always have cool stuff in like
South Korea.
or Japan or whatever, because it's like you can put up like one tower and basically cover the entire country.
Exactly. Yeah. when you live in Singapore and it's like 8,000 people per square kilometer, it's like, oh, we can service that. That's cheap.
Yeah, if you've got to put up a tower to get like 5 people, then it's a problem with Canada. Anyway, that was all the news that I have marked for today. So thanks everybody for watching, and we thanks to everybody who screamed into the void in the YouTube comments. Always nice to see. Is it Red Day at Lure?
No, right?
Sure.
Okay,
I know.
prepared.
I often wear red for CheckPoint because it's the kind of the CheckPoint colors.
I looked at what shirts I had, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be on a stream for Loading Ready Run. Loading Ready Run shirt is a good idea. You can get that over at store.loadingreadyrun.com.
I was nude and then I put clothes on myself. That's
Good
how
choice.
this happened.
Good
yeah.
choice. Yeah. Yeah, I've especially during the pandemic times. I think I don't think I'm alone in having like wardrobe for when I know I'm not going to be going outside today, and wardrobe when I know I'm going to be on camera.
Yeah.
Or on camera or just going outside.
So my camera wardrobe depends on where I'm streaming from. We're streaming from the moon base, green screen, none of my green clothes.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you gotta make sure. Yeah.
Whereas at home,
Not the green clothes.
I'm not really doing the green screen thing right now. So if I want to wear some green, fine.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Let's thank the people who subscribed during this stream. Starting with somebody who will probably come up at some point.
Nobody subscribed at all.
Nobody.
Oh,
were
hey,
out.
there it is.
Kicks
Just a sec.
in.
Hey.
I'll take that over a frame drop. Yeah.
Jacobish 97 for 33 months.
And Boiler Snake for 22 months.
Dr. Nick for 95.
Mr. Virtite for 31 months.
Another Doc Laza for 35 months.
Arlopus 10 for 49 months.
And Craven Monkey for 54 months. Thank you to all you awesome folks who subscribed. Jibcat trying to sneak in there with the bits, but didn't quite make it in time. Wait, no, they did.
Wow. It does come up. Interesting.
They did make it.
You did an interesting science for us there.
So, thanks everybody for watching. Coming up, we got the Friday Night Paper Fight, where it's going to be green commanders.
Green? Like
Yeah.
like the color green, or everybody is green?
Uh,
Are they all wearing green suits? There's a lot of variants.
I don't know whether they're going to be wearing green.
Do we have
but,
enough green morph
we
suits
We
for
missed St.
everyone?
Patrick's Day just by a...
Yeah, in honor of St. Patrick's Day,
Yeah.
we decided that we would have everybody play mono green decks.
And drive the
Oh,
snakes
okay.
out of Ireland.
I don't know if there is I don't know if one of the decks is a snake deck. But anyway,
Let's see. Green is a lot of big things.
I thought it would be
bears
it'd be
and
fun.
spiders.
So it's Ben, both Bens
Both ends.
of the Ulmer and the Wheeler variety.
Mm-hmm.
Graham and Nelson are going to be playing. It should be a lot of fun.
And that's real-ass paper magic happening here in studio, which is why
Yep.
Paul's here today.
Real ass paper.
Mm-hmm.
And then nothing on Saturday, but on Sunday we got more Play It Forward of Elden Ring, followed by a musical story, which is super good from what I understand.
We finished it, and
Oh.
now we are going to we are attempting to perfect all the stages, because there's like an extra thing that happens if we do, and we like the game enough that we've decided that Rhythm Cafe is no longer good enough as our slogan. We must be perfect now.
Wow. All right. And then Legends of Runeterra on Sunday night on Is This Your Card? Followed by the Can't Draw Horses Club on Monday, where Corey and friends will be drawing things. And then Crossing the Streams, where we'll be playing.
It was like Glorp or something.
Drink or blurp.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, that was the game that was next.
Yeah.
this is a game.
It's what happens when aliens intercept a bunch of television from Earth and see sports, and they're like, "Oh, this is a pastime. We should try this." And they
Right.
aren't really the same build as humans, so they come up with what they think are sports, and it's wild. I've never played it. It just looks amazing.
Oh, yeah, Amethyst is the one who's going to be on.
Can't draw horses.
Yeah, Can't Draw Horses.
All right.
Cool.
And they're doing labyrinths, which sounds super cool. So, lots of cool stuff's coming up. LoggingMeRun.com/live is the place to go see the full schedule. Thanks everybody for watching. Be back in a little over an hour with Commander on Friday Night Paper Fight. Goodbye.
Wear your masks, or don't, but do.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
And don't put your opinions about it in your patch notes.
Yeah.
It's not relevant to your video game.
Yeah, write them on a piece of paper and then eat them.
What?